Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
I'm down with H1B. Yeah, you know me. STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics hiring today, is brutal as there are just not enough people to support the demand. So without bringing policy into the conversation, we're going to tackle the challenge of how to hire around the limitations. Today's quote: to maintain their own competitiveness, workers need to attain and stay current on the qualifications needed to advance in this constantly evolving economy. Any idea who said that, Mr. Martin Herrington?
I don't think I do know who said that.
It was Elaine Chao.
Oh,
She's our Secretary of Transportation. I'm Rick Girard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs and hiring managers avoid costly hiring mistakes. We do this by identifying a specific problem and providing proven solutions to enable you to win the right hire. We share insights with top-performing rebel entrepreneurs and disruptors and industry experts like our guest today, Mr. Martin Herrington. Martin is the Senior Vice President of Tech Services for TechChorus Consulting, Inc. And Martin is currently a founding partner and Vice President with TechChorus Consulting, an RPO and recruiting agency based here in Orange County, specializing in recruiting of high-tech talent recruitment process outsourcing services. That one's a tongue twister. Martin's also a Toastmasters International member for many years, and he co-founded the Herrington Teddy Bear Company to move to the United States, creating a multinational sensation. Martin, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show today.
Hey, thank you, Rick. Great to be here.
Teddy bears to recruiting. How'd you do that?
Isn't that amazing?
Congratulations. A good move.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I had a really good run for over 20 years, helping build the Herrington Teddy Bear Company into a world-class brand, shipping to more than 50 countries. And a few years ago, things kind of were changing in the economy, and we had some new ideas going on. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go back and follow a dream that I had years ago and got back into financial advisory. And that kind of morphed into, hey, you can start a new business in the tech field and join some partners that came forward, and we started TechChorus.
Wow. Okay. All right. So today we're going to cover H1Bs, what they are, and how to work around them, the benefits as well as the challenges to hiring H1Bs, and how to effectively hire someone who's under an H1B status. So you're an expert at this. Martin, I'm going to let you take lead. So why don't you tell us, what is an H1B?
Well, an H-1B visa, Rick, is a way for people to work in this country under a long-term scenario. It's not permanent, but it is long-term, and it's usually sponsored or is sponsored by the company, and it's usually specifically to bring someone with a specific talent in. And I actually came into the country myself that way.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So typically what ends up happening is somebody goes to college, they get a F1 or an OPT visa, right? Mm-hmm. And when they get out of college, they have a certain amount of time in which they have a practical training, and then they're able to, how do they get sponsored for an H-1B?
Exactly. So the next step after that educational requirement's been filled is they're going to need to get authorized or sponsorship from a company, and the company will sponsor them, go through the legal paperwork, get them set up with their first H-1B visa to work at really any company in the country.
Which takes forever today, because I know that there's a lottery-based system, and they only have a certain amount of H-1Bs that they give out every year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Woo! All right. So let's talk about the benefits of hiring H-1Bs.
Yeah, so for any company that's looking to extend their talent pool, H-1Bs is really going to do that for them. It's going to allow them to go beyond the people that are available in a certain tech field or with a certain skill set and have much wider talent pool to choose from.
How so?
So basically, a lot of these skills that you see nowadays in our environment, anything to do with the computers, internet, all these different tech fields, have people that are doing things that you and I may not be that familiar with. They're using Hadoop to control data. They're using different coding languages like Python or Ruby on Rails. We don't really know what those are, but they do. And unfortunately, in our country, we don't have enough of those candidates right now that are filling those needs. So that's why we extended it around the world to people that can come in on these visas.
Which is why I picked that quote, because we really need to train ourselves in in the STEM arts, right? Like
Yep.
there's a lack of people because there's just not enough people going into that.
Yeah, and that's why things like STEM are so good, because we want to encourage kids at an early age, and especially young girls to jump in there. Traditionally, it seems like it's been male dominated, and there's a great need there for girls, and there's a push for that, because we can extend and have more people that are interested in the science field.
So getting back to the H1B, so you have a wider pool of talent that you can pull from, and especially I do a lot in software engineering and in tech. Mm-hmm. And there's just a shortage of engineers. In order to find engineers, we usually have to pull them out of another company that they're working at.
Right. Yep.
That's getting harder and harder because people are doing better jobs with their culture. So it's harder to pull people out.
Yeah, definitely. And the goal is to get, people with better technical skills, right? They're going to have the expertise that's needed for a specific skill set. And as I do, how difficult some of these requirements can be for our clients, where they have specific skill sets that they're looking for. They want a specific language or understanding in a certain area or certification.
This is probably best used in a situation where you have a project, you need a particular skill set, you need it done quickly within a certain time frame. Like on a contracting basis, it's probably better than a full-time hire.
Exactly. And that's where the bulk of the effort is put is on contract work. So it's project related. It could be a 3, 6, 9, 12-month contract where they need someone with a specific skill set.
So let's talk about the pitfalls. What are the things you have to be aware of when you're hiring H1s, especially, I guess, for a full-time role? So first off, you should always go after somebody who already has an existing H1B. Otherwise, it's going to take forever to sponsor them.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, it does take a while, and it's really an unknown. So because, like you mentioned, there's a lottery and people can have hopes and wishes, but at the end of the day, if they don't make that lottery, they may have a problem with their OPT ending or the L1, like you mentioned, where they don't get the H1B, and then they've got to make some decisions. So,
and the lottery is broken down how? It's based on where you're from, country of origin, right?
Correct. Yeah. So they're going to have a certain number of people that they're going to let in from, say, Canada, where I came from. They're going to have a certain number of people from India, and different areas where they'll have a certain number of visas allocated.
Let's say we find a candidate that we like and we want to hire that person. What do we need to be aware of? What are the pitfalls there?
Yeah, so unfortunately what we found, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, Rick, and unfortunately there's what we call agents that represent people with H-1B visas. And that's where it gets a little bit honestly shady, and that's where it becomes difficult. We have to be aware of things like even misrepresentation, or someone might call it lying.
People lie?
If you can believe that. I didn't know it happened.
The hell you say?
So we'll say it nicely and say misrepresentation. So
wait, so let's talk about the agent thing,
yeah.
Because I've actually come across that before where I've gotten emails from people. They send me a resume, you call it, and it goes to an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is pretty common, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
For somebody who's trying to do business development and they're not who they claim to be.
Yeah, unfortunately. And yeah, you're calling a number from a resume. And unfortunately, we hear this sound in our ear that says, that's my contractor. It's not the person that we're looking to talk to.
So who's lying? Is it the agents or is it the candidates themselves or both?
Oh, well, I don't know if it's easy to kind of pinpoint where that's happening, but that's the key that we can talk about later too, is making sure that you're getting the right story from both parties as you go through the process, because it's hard to pinpoint who is, because you have to develop trust with really both parties, the agent and the candidate.
So you're usually getting to a contractor who you don't know, who has that resume. You don't even know if the skills or anything on that resume are actually that person.
Well, you brought up another good point there, and unfortunately, that's the reality. Is that we do see a lot of resumes look surprisingly familiar, and I mean word for word.
4 different names with the same resume?
Yeah, and it gets really difficult when you're dealing with, say, person A, and you're looking at, and then person B's resume is submitted, it's the same resume.
So you're an agent, right? They probably reach out to you quite often and say, hey, do you want to do third-party splits or deals? Or
Absolutely.
To that effect, right?
Absolutely. It's a regular.
That doesn't happen too often for me, and I would imagine it doesn't happen too often for small startups.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you gotta be careful with, and it's a regular occurrence. So, I mean, my email's packed every day with obviously lots of emails, but half of them are probably people saying, hey, I've got this person with this skill, call us.
God, I hate that. Okay.
I hear you.
You and I were talking before the show, and you were telling me a story about how you had somebody who was in an interview and it looked like the person was being coached or it wasn't the same person that you...
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but what happened was, and we go to great lengths, Rick, to make sure that people are vetted properly. It's as you know, it's what separates us from our competition.
Yeah.
And to do that, we have to go through many different layers, including phone calls and eventually in-person meetings. Sometimes distance makes us use a connection on video or WebEx. So we'll go through that process with somebody to make sure that they're who they are, that they're answering the right questions themselves, that they're not referencing their computer while they're talking. That's the beauty of the live connection on video. And
hold on, let me look this up on Google.
Yeah. No, I'll ask. We'll ask questions, and you'll hear the typing. It's like, no, please, just tell me the answer. You know what the command is in Linux. You should tell me. So, but yeah, at some point, we have to make sure that they're who they are and that they know their stuff and that they're ready to meet with our client. And that's where, unfortunately, in this case that you're mentioning, we had the client say that when they went through that process, they felt that the candidate was either lip syncing or perhaps someone else was talking. So lip syncing meaning someone else is answering or they're conferring with someone else. So they actually heard other voices.
Or they were running off a teleprompter or something.
Maybe a teleprompter. I don't know if they're like Trump and they just speak on their own, but yeah, the teleprompter may be going. So it was alarming and it was damaging. Right. I mean, we have a high threshold of ethics that we maintain. And when a customer says that's happening, it can be very difficult.
God, we could actually do a whole show just on candidate stories because I think we all have them. I've seen this happen quite a few times before where you get somebody who just shows up in an interview that's totally different than the person you talked to on the phone.
Yeah. And again, it's tough there too, because like you say, I mean, you're talking to person A and then and you go to meet them at the interview or to walk them in and it's a different person or a different sound when you meet them.
That's going to lead us into our next section. So, hey guys, you're listening to our radio show. I'm Rick Girard. For our podcast listeners, we're going to take a quick educational moment for our sponsors. Find out how healing a person's pain points attracts amazing people to your company. Sign up for our passive talent workshops at rickgirard.com. Our guest today is Martin Herrington. Martin is the Senior Vice President of Tech Services for TechChorus Consulting, Inc. And we're talking about H1Bs, which we all know and love. Let's actually give somebody a process that we can put in place to help them to hire H1Bs, because it's a necessity if you're hiring anybody in science, technology, or mathematics today. I have a method, and I'm sure you have a system that you go by, where I vet people pretty thoroughly, and I look for evidence to support warranting an interview. I don't know if you go that deep or do that sort of thing, but I think that communication is really key here. You can't assume anything, especially when you're dealing with a third party or you're dealing with just somebody who's actively out there doing their own shopping as an H1B too.
We've got a few steps that we follow, Rick, to work through this kind of stuff, because the reality is, like we said earlier, you're going to need to get these kind of candidates, and it can be discouraging enough to the point where you just put up your hands and say, I'm not going to deal with those agencies that we talked about. But at times when you are trying to find a specific skill set and you find what appears to be the right person, then it's time to go through some serious steps. And the first one is to really go carefully over the resume. And that kind of ties in with what we talked about earlier. Make sure that each item on that resume isn't just overload, because I'm sure you've seen unfortunately.
So how do we test this with people?
Well, we 10 to 15 page resumes can be kind of scary, and we have clients that literally want to punch. They want to punch. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got a hiring manager once said, I just felt like punching the guy. So
he really had a 15-page resume.
Yeah, and we're not going to send.
How can you have a 15-page resume when you're on an H1? Like, even if you're like 5 years into it, you can't have acquired that much content to have a 15-page resume.
Yeah, and that's where the fluff comes in, right? There's
that's where you're putting in every buzzword. Every skill set under the moon, right? It's like they've got everything. Do you go back to them? Do you go back to them and say, "Hey, I need a 2-page resume, otherwise we're not going to talk to them"?
We have, and we do. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. We'll tell people to trim it down, and that's another good way to vet people, because they're like, "Well, wait a minute, my resume is 4 pages." Not the one I got, or whatever, right? I mean, so yeah.
4 pages is too long too.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we look at how many resumes
You
a
have
day,
a
right?
20 plus year career. How long is your resume?
Exactly. I try to keep it to one page.
Mine's 2 pages at most.
Yeah.
Page and a half.
I mean, and again, like you said, I think they're trying to put every skill in there that they can because
They're trying to optimize for SEO.
Yeah, for those automated systems that are picking the words out.
See, this is the bad side of having an ATS system that filters your candidates for you.
Yep, that's where we earn our money, and it separates us because we have that personal level, right? You know, watching for duplication, making sure you're not seeing a resume that looks identical, which I unfortunately have literally seen resumes that look identical. I don't know why, if it's just the agency putting through people tapping a different name on it.
Probably. Like if you look at job orders today, like it's somebody stealing somebody else's job board,
right? Just
slapping their own label on it, putting it out there.
Yeah, exactly. So there's certain jobs that they're trying to get for their candidate, or they want to open them up to any job that they can, right? So it makes it hard.
All right. So step 1, go through the resume diligently.
Diligently, exactly. You know, and it takes time, but you can pick up these things like too long, too much repetition pretty quickly.
You can see the ones that are just BS.
Exactly.
The ones that have every single buzzword under the sun. I don't know. Do you call those people? Because I don't.
No,
I kind of laugh and they go in my trash can.
Right. Yeah. No. It's a
bad
quick
resume of the day.
Exactly. And hopefully you don't even have to just click delete and move on.
What's the second step?
So the next step is our recruiters are going to have a phone call. They're going to schedule a time to speak to the person. And if that can be go right to Skype, so be it. But if not, it's a phone call because this is where we get into communication. And, unfortunately for when you're opening up the world here, we've got people speaking all kinds of different languages. And I don't know how much you've traveled, but I've been traveling and I can kind of understand people in different countries. But if my hiring manager can't understand someone, the interview is really short.
So you're running the phone call with the hiring manager, or you're doing it as your recruiters?
So our recruiter is calling them before it ever hits the hiring manager. Yes, even before it hits me, it's going to be the recruiter's going to have that call, talk to them on a person-to-person basis and get a feel for their communication ability.
So what if they don't have to communicate that well? What if they just need to sit in a corner and code?
Well, that's something that hopefully we can get past with the phone call. But again, they have to be able to communicate. Like you say, there are those people that you can put them in a room, throw money over the wall, and they'll code, but they still have to do some interaction. And
especially today.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to have stakeholders and partners and other coders.
So how are you telling if they're really good? Are you testing what buzzwords they have in there? Are you have them walk you through a project? What are you doing specifically that's giving you that evidence that you need?
Well, what we do, Rick, is we take a look at the resume and say, okay, they've got a long list of skills, say at the start, and then they go into their job experience and they may list some things that they're doing, but we'll go and say, okay, you listed, say, Python up at the top, but there's no mention of Python down here in any of these jobs. Where did you use it? Okay, I used it here at this job last year. Okay, take us through what you did. How much exposure did you have? Well, I was supporting it. Okay, that's not necessarily what we're looking for. Were you coding in Python?
I went out and bought a snake.
Exactly. That's right, Python. I got my snake here, and
I could put Java on my resume since I drink coffee, right?
Well, it seems like every resume has Java. if your resume doesn't have Java now, we're wondering why, but maybe that is the coffee influence. I don't know.
So you're going through what details that you need for the role. So you're looking at, I ignore that piece. I ignore that buzzword piece that's always at the top that has skills, that they list everything that they've ever touched. And I dig into what they've been working on in their current role.
Right.
I have them walk me through that. And then if I am looking for a particular skill, I might kind of poke them on that and see if they have any.
And that's going to be, a little farther down the line for us. But I think that's a great idea. Like you said, get that out of the way early and have them. Yeah, exactly.
So the first call, you're just looking for communication skills then?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we don't get that comforting feeling that they can speak and communicate, and when I say that, I mean, it really means that you don't have to say, pardon me, or what, or it's a bad connection. I can't understand you. It's gotta be clear communication. And those people are out there. They're working on their skills. I mean, their English is better than my Punjabi, right?
I don't know. How good is it?
Well, it's not.
You tell me. Yeah. I mean, it's better than mine. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You're looking for communication skills primarily, and then walking through their skills. Those are the two things that you're recommending that they do on that second step.
Right. And then, go over each, go over each job that they've had and experience and find out where they were using specific technologies. And obviously we're looking for certain skills when we're trying to fill these roles, right? We don't need the breadbasket of information. We just need certain skills. Do they know NetApp? Have they worked with ISIL on these different things that are important?
Different for contractors than if you're hiring full-time. Because if you're hiring full-time, you're going to delve into that a bit deeper. Do you guys do full-time direct hire placements as well?
We do, and I have another story if we have time on that, unfortunately. But yeah, so that process is a little bit deeper because you have to dig in really deep on the visa. Is it current? It's one thing to be told, I've got a visa that's good till October. Okay, great. You can work now for the next 3 months and you'll be done before that expires.
But if you're hiring full time and they only have a year left, that's a problem.
Yeah, and that's where it's what's called the renewal for the H1B, and that's great too because they can get another 3 years. And if they get through that,
but if you're in year 6.
If you're in year 6, what's your situation? Has your company already applied for you?
If you don't have the green card coming, you're in trouble.
You could be in trouble unless you got what's called the I-140, which is an approval that gets you what's called the EAD, Employee Authorization Document. Yeah. And then you're in limbo until that green card arrives.
Step 3, what would that be?
So on the third step, we're going to move towards just a couple more things on step 2. There is the need to make sure there's the person themselves is talking. Obviously, we don't want to hear any background noise and so on. So the in-person, which is ideal, or if distances don't permit it, we're going to do a WebEx or a Zoom or Skype even. And that's when we're going to, really get where the rubber hits the road and, how well does this person present? That's where we're also looking for some of those things that I mentioned are they focused on you?
So you're doing those 2 steps prior to them actually getting an interview with your company?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good vetting. Yeah. And then the 4th step would be what?
I would say the last thing is to get their commitment, because we're going to have a certain time for the contract. And as you know, contracts can get renewed. So we want to know how far out they're going to be, but get their commitment for the length of that contract and that they'll be able to show up. If this is in Houston and I got a guy that's in Atlanta, I need to see his flight booked, right? I want to know, hey, you're ready to show up on this day at this time. Maybe we're going to fly there ourselves to make sure.
Actually, full-time is kind of tougher because you have that lag period between when they get their H1 transfer paperwork in, and then sometimes it could take now 2 to 3 months before that turns around.
Right.
And man, that's a time where you really have to set up touch points and make sure that you keep that going.
Oh, yeah, because they're going to have so many opportunities thrown at them too.
Yeah. Right. So the key here is communication, guys. You need to actually not assume anything, and you need to dig in deep. I like the way you're vetting deeply on this and making sure before you present them to your clients. We've got a quick minute here. What would be the key takeaways that you'd like the audience to walk away with?
Well, thanks, Rick. I would say the 3 things you want to think about is what we talked a lot about, I think, is primary communication. It's got to be very focused and diligent and purposeful on the communication side. And that's not just talking about how they sound or what they talk like. It's also communication between them, their employer, and so on. And then we're going to need to find out details on the visa. We talked a little bit about that, but
drill down deep on that. It's super important.
Get a copy of the visa. It's not hard to get, and their documentation that they have.
And then finally,
and the last thing is it takes coaching, and I'm saying this for the benefit of those in our industry is there's so much coaching that needs to go on as you work these people through this process, and I'm talking about everything from be ready to this is a contract to hire, so don't go in looking for the green card when you start talking to my client. That's going to kill it.
Or on the reverse side, don't go in like you were going to be a full-time employee and then try to negotiate a contract. Yeah. Bad idea.
Right.
All right. We're just about out of time for today's show. Martin, thanks so much for your time investment today. And I want to welcome you to the Higher Power Radio community. Now, what's the best way for the members of our community to reach you?
The best way is from our website, tecorus.com.
Spell that out.
TEKCORUS, like United States.com. And our information's up there. You can reach me by phone or email. And a real pleasure to be here today, Rick.
It was a pleasure to have you. I want to thank our listening audience for tuning in to this week's episode of Higher Power. Quick thanks to our team, our engineer Paul Roberts, our producers Andrea Ballin, Shanti Ryle, and Ayla Gerard. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, review, and share. We are listening. We love your feedback. After all, this show's about you. You can join the Higher Power Radio community at Higher, that's Hire, Power, Power, Radio, Radio, or drop me an email at rick@stridesearch.com to learn about our passive talent webinars and workshops. Tune in next week. Our guest is going to be Ryan Malone. Ryan is the founder and CEO of SmartBug Media. I'm your host, Rick Girard, and you have been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Girard on OC Talk Radio.